All right, hey my friends, and welcome to today's episode where I'm going to talk about the idea that you're allowed to want more for yourself than just not to suffer. And this is a one of the points that I also went through on my mindset training that we did this month for June of 2025, depending when you're watching this, where I talked about key mindset shifts when it comes to recovering from OCD and anxiety. And this is a real important one, and I felt it necessary to go and make a complete episode on it, right? Because I was just like sitting with it, and it was a point that connected with a lot of people. And if you aren't on the newsletter, that's the only way to get access to the free live trainings that I do each month. So also the weekly coaching that I send out via an audio message to the inbox. So if you want access to those, we have a link down below. You can also head over to restoredminds.com, check out some of our access or some of our different resources that we have available for you. And so today I just was going through it, and I just felt in alignment to make this. And so with the idea of just wanting not to suffer, this is, I think, what most people, that's where they set the bar for their recovery. And the issue being, right, not wanting to suffer, like the best case scenario is that you are neutral. There's just the absence of suffering. And this is what I think happens with a lot of people who are experiencing OCD and anxiety in a over the long period of time is they've internally set this bar of saying, okay, like I don't want to suffer. And what happens is they'll have a flare up, or the symptoms will get intense and they'll go into crisis mode, and then the symptoms will go down enough where they can maintain, and they think that that's what their life's supposed to be. It's just this maintenance, and it's just trying to kind of keep the suffering gauge down enough. And so they learn tools, or they binge watch resources, or consume all these books and all that, and their intention is, unfortunately, this idea of I don't want to suffer, or their want from themselves is just a absence of suffering. And if we're honest, that's what most of us are pursuing to some degree, right? We have some level of suffering, and that's why we do all the things that we do. And when you understand that, you begin to realize what a low bar you've set for yourself. And that low bar will, interestingly enough, prevent you from ever reaching recovery, because things will settle down for a little bit, and then you'll just go back to all the same things that you've always done, that ultimately created the issue to begin with, right? Same emotional escapism techniques, and you'll distract yourself, you'll get super 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 busy. Oh, I don't have the time to work on myself, right? It's just not the right place in my life, all of that. And a lot of it comes back down to the bar you set for yourself in your life, and what you allow for your life, what you accept in your life. And when you set a very low standard, that's all you'll ever really allow in your life. However, when you decide to change that, and you start to say things like, you know, there's more to life than just surviving, right? There's a big difference, in fact, from staying alive and living. Massive difference. And you start to choose to live instead of to just stay alive. You start to choose to really see, like, again, how good life can become, and pursue that. How good can I make my life? And pursue that kind of question versus just like, I just want to mitigate the symptoms, and but allow yourself to stay in a form of suffering. That that jump is so massive, and those kind of questions, and even pondering those kind of ideas, and allowing those ideas to start to come into your own mind and start to become possible for you, can take you to completely different places in your life. If your goal is literally just to mitigate your suffering, or to not suffer as much, or even not suffer, like I said, you'll find quick fixes. That narrative is always going to lead to what's the simplest, easiest, cheapest, fastest way to do that, right? Often going to lead to self-medication. It's going to lead to distraction. It's going to lead to losing yourself in relationships and just, becoming codependent. It's going to lead to, obviously addiction, right? Certain addictive behaviors. And again, everyone thinks addiction needs to be like these extreme drugs, and it doesn't. It could be addiction to consuming, addiction to working, addiction to working out, right? Staying busy, addiction to just watching TV, addiction to, whatever. And all these things, they're designed, like we have industries upon industries upon industries that are just built to help you escape yourself. That's all they do. I mean, if you objectively look at it, like why would anyone binge watch a reality TV show for 3 hours? Why would you watch someone else living life and spend your life doing that? It doesn't make sense. But that's how much we want to escape. Right? I mean, and again, I'll be the first, and it's not like I don't engage in any of this stuff. It's just the more you become aware of it, the more you see it for what it is, right? Like, why am I gonna go watch, people play a sport if I could go play it, right? Maybe I can't play it as well, but like, man, it's like if I just spend my days watching other people play sports and I don't use my own body, like what good is that? Why would I do that? And this is where the message today is more of a grander philosophical idea of saying, like, you have to want more for yourself than just not to suffer. If you set that as a benchmark, recovery almost is I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's going to be very elusive. Be very difficult for you to achieve, because in order to recover, you have to want to become someone who doesn't deal with this. You have to want to become someone who lives, just a completely different life than the one you currently live. Who's not controlled by fear, who operates from courage, who operates from trust, who operates from love and peace, right? And you bring that into everything you do, your work, your relationships, your passion projects, right? The way you interact with people, right? How you see the world, right? That's what I'm talking about there. That's recovery. Recovery is I've broken out of this fear loop, and I don't spend a lot of time anyway in these lower emotional states, and they don't dominate my perception and ultimately the decisions I make, which then create my reality downstream. Instead, I live from these different states, these higher states, right? Where there's way, way more energy. And I don't need a distraction from myself. I can actually sit with myself. I can go and sit on the beach and I don't need anything else. I can just sit there and just be. I don't need to have the TV on. I don't need to have noise and distraction because I feel good in here. It doesn't mean that I don't listen to podcasts and I don't bring a book down to the beach or things like that. I'm just saying that, like, if I just am sitting there, I'm okay. And that's done through doing the inner work to become that kind of individual. And that starts with, you have to first want that for yourself. You have to want good for yourself. And if you don't want that, ask yourself why. What beliefs are you holding that maybe are causing that or creating that? Do you believe you have to suffer to have good in your life? Well, that's not true. Do you believe you're not worthy of good? These are just questions to sit with. Because until you set that bar of I want to live and I don't want to just stay alive, if you just want to stay alive, there's lots of industries that will, help you do that, help you just kind of sustain. But there are paths also to learn and how to break out of that and truly live. And so Wanted to share that today. I hope it was helpful. And with that, wish you all a great day and a great week. Look forward to seeing you soon. Hey there, thanks so much for watching that episode. If you found it helpful, we have some links to some other episodes that we think you might like as well. And if you're looking for help on your journey to recovery from fear, stress, and anxiety, either check out the links in the notes or head over to restoredminds.com. Thank you and talk to you soon.